Jump scares are usually the low bar for what a horror movie relies on to deliver its scares. But when used correctly and in a surprising way, it can be extremely effective. Whether it's a sudden breaking of the silence, to your eyes registering a figure in the darkness. Jump scares have sent pulses racing throughout horror films over the decades. Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Every new sub helps us achieve our goal and keeps us motivated to create new content. With that being said, I'm your host, Jamie, and here are 10 frightening jump scares in horror films. Number 1. Scissoring. After the dreadful 1977 Exorcist sequel, The Exorcist II: Heretic, the franchise went on an over decade-long hiatus, but returned to form and delivered the best Exorcist sequel film to date, 1990's The Exorcist III. It helped that William Peter Blatty wrote and directed this installment. Blatty wrote the original novel for The Exorcist, as well as the Academy Award-nominated 1973 film. The Exorcist III is also an adaptation of Blatty's 1983 novel, Legion. William Friedkin, director of the original film, was originally set to also direct The Exorcist III. He allegedly couldn't due to differing visions for the narrative. Friedkin supposedly had creative differences for part 2 as well. Off topic, but I think it'd be interesting to see what he would have done with both. Regardless, Father Damien Karras reprises his role for The Exorcist. He was believed to have died at the end of the original, but survived, and is now in a psych ward with a demon in him. Police Lieutenant William F. Kinderman is investigating murders that resemble the MO of the Gemini Killer, an homage to the real-life Zodiac Killer. He is played by the original voice of Chucky, Brad Dourif, who would have wrapped up Child's Play 2 as well as it was released only 3 months after The Exorcist III. One of my personal favorite jump scares is in this film. It's a quiet night in the hospital as a nurse checks on her patients. She enters a room, then leaves, only to be followed by a nun wielding a pair of giant scissors to decapitate her. What's great about this scene is it's a still rather unassuming shot taken from just down the hallway. The audience is not clued in, and it's very abrupt. Brace yourselves and stream The Exorcist III on Peacock, Prime, Sling, Google Play, Tubi, Pluto, Redbox, Zumo, AMC Plus, Philo, or Fandango. Number 2. Projection anxiety. Stephen King is arguably the most prolific modern horror authors of our time, as well as one of the best. One of his, if not his most popular books, is his definitive 1985 novel, It, which has 2 adaptations. 1990's classic TV film starring Tim Curry as the titular character, Pennywise the Clown, and 2017 and 2019's It's Chapter 1 and 2, starring Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. Both actors do a phenomenal job bringing the menace to life, while also making each iteration uniquely their own. The more recent big screen adaptation definitely gives the audience more insight to the maniacal clown, as well as a plethora of new references from the behemoth novel, which is a staggering 1,150 pages. In 2017, the first big screen adaptation of It toted quite the stellar cast of child actors, as well as style from Mama director Andres Muschietti, from its brilliant marketing campaign. Fans were going to get an R-rated, big-budget It, or big for a horror film, around $35 million. It was an odd movie to release in early September, as that was historically a studio dumping ground. But it worked in their favor because between audience anticipation and rave reviews, the film pulled a $123 million opening, the second biggest R-rated opening in the US, only behind Deadpool, and also the biggest horror opening, period. The specific jump scare you may be anticipating based on the description, so I'm gonna go for it. It starts off with the main cast motley crew of tweens dubbed the Loser Club, mapping their town of Derry, trying to figure out where it might be located. I also want to note, while certain individual performances stand out more than others, but the whole group's chemistry is beyond palpable. Back to the jump scare. The projector starts moving from side to side on its own, projecting images of Pennywise gradually appearing on the screen, eventually adorning the most disturbing grin, all while his face is partially shrouded by his dirty amber locks. You can feel the kid's fear. Eddie is having an asthma attack while they are all screaming and swearing. The projector is kicked over, and Pennywise disappears on the next sight. Then the lights go out, and in that next shot, a gargantuan version of the psychotic clown, dagger-like teeth, protrudes from the screen and chases the kids. This jump scare is a giddy, goosebump-inducing pleasure one for me. I loved experiencing it on the big screen too. It's still amazing at home, so check it out on Max, Netflix, Google Play, Fandango, or Prime. Number 3, Hide and Clap. Although James Wan had already made his name in horror directing torture porn classic Saw, as well as his clever atmospheric twist on the haunted house genre Insidious, he really refined his craft with 2013's The Conjuring, which was applauded by critics as well as a massive commercial success, ranking in a frightening 319 million worldwide, 137 million stateside alone. And that's pretty big for a horror film, let alone an R-rated one, especially considering its modest $20 million budget. The Conjuring is loosely based off the real-life paranormal investigators of Ed and Lorraine Warren. Patrick Wilson plays Ed, and Lorraine is played by Vera Farmiga. These two not only deliver delicious performances, but they have phenomenal on-screen presence. They feel like a genuine married couple, and that also comes through in the more tender moments in the film. The Warrens are set to investigate one of their more dangerous cases, which revolves around a family that had recently moved into a haunted house. James Wan has never been one for cheap scares, as they are all genuinely well-executed mechanisms of tension. The family that moved into the farmhouse starts experiencing paranormal events. The children, who feel like siblings, play a game called Hide and Clap with their mother. But unbeknownst to her, it's a ghost in the house is responding to her claps. Cut to a tight close-up of the mother, Carolyn Perrin, played by Lily Taylor. After she claps, a set of hands claps right by her ears and snap, the lights go out. This is a well-executed jump scare, but didn't really get me, partly because the marketing for the film was centered around it. So make sure to check this out over on Max, Google Play, Fandango, Sling, or Prime. Number 4, Late Night Lawn Mowing Service. The 2010s certainly breathed new life into the haunted house largely because of big-time horror producer Jason Blum, who really hit his mark with Paranormal Activity and Insidious. 2012's Sinister continued the haunted house genre's winning streak, as well as Jason Blum's. Director Scott Derrickson has come a long way from 2000's straight-to-video Hellraiser Inferno. Derrickson co-wrote and helmed Sinister, and it was a benchmark film for him and horror. It's considered the scariest film according to science, as people who watched its heart rates would hit 135 beats per minute, which equates to a rigorous exercise for some. It's understandable as this Ethan Hawke-led film, as it invokes an atmosphere of unease at Bagal, the demon that haunts the home, is diabolically unnerving. It helps that Derrickson, much like James Wan, has a knack for crafting creepy scare sequences. Sinister follows true crime writer Ellison Oswald, played by Hawke, who's had a decade-long dry spell in the writing department. It's very Stephen King, who happened to love this film. Ellison finds Super 8 films in his attic that contain disturbing footage. He becomes obsessed with solving the murders he sees. The best jump scares are built up to and are significant in context of the film. One standout one in Sinister occurs when Ellison is watching some of the old Super 8 footage of a beau mowing the lawn at night, which is sinister, if I do say so myself. The limited perspective and film grain, while eerie, is unassuming, until the lawnmower starts to roll over a family that is tied up and gagged. Ellison jumps from his seat, acting as an audience surrogate. So get that heart rate up and watch Sinister over on Max, Prime, Sling, Google Play, or Fandango. Number 5. Darth Maul cameo. In 2011, James Wan re-teamed up with screenwriter Lee Whannell, both who had previously worked on the original Saw. Oren Peli, who was responsible for the critical found footage smash hit Paranormal Activity, joined Wan and went out to make Insidious. Insidious is a unique take on the haunted house, as it is not the house that is haunted, but a person. Patrick Wilson is a favorite of James Wan, and this film is their first of many collaborations, including his non-horror films Furious 7 and Aquaman. Both films are billion-dollar films that help bolster their respective IPs. So perhaps studios should have had a little in James Wan, but that's another issue for another day. Wilson plays the husband and father Josh Lambert, who has recently moved with his family. His wife Renee is played by the lovely Rose Byrne, who, off-topic, brilliant comedic actress as well. Byrne and Wilson also have impeccable chemistry. Their 3 kids, Dalton, Fisher, and infant daughter Callie, highlight the family dynamic. But it is the precocious young actor Ty Simpkins, who plays Dalton, that really stands out. He would also star as Tony Stark's protege in Iron Man 3 and dinosaur-loving young boy in Jurassic World. Dalton winds up in a coma, and that correlates with when real hauntings begin. The best jump scare in the film was also part of the marketing, unfortunately. But it's just so good, and there are many great ones thanks to Wan's brilliant eye for them. Renee calls up paranormal investigators headed by a psychic, Elise Rayner, played by veteran actress Lynn Shay. Horror buffs may recognize her as Nancy Thompson's teacher in the original A Nightmare on Elm Street. Shay is the only actress to appear in every Insidious film, as she became the face of the franchise. This is an incredible feat considering, spoiler alert, she dies at the end of this film. Her sidekicks and comic relief, Specs and Tucker actors, one of them being Whannell himself, also appear in every Insidious film. At one point in the film, Elise is having a conversation with Josh during the day, and suddenly this crimson red demon with black spot patches appear, mouth agape, behind Josh for just a brief second, startling Elise. You can stream it over on Disney+, Amazon Prime, Google Play, or Fandango. Number 6. Wall-Crawling Annie. Hereditary is visionary director Ari Aster's debut film, and at its core is a family drama. It's a family conflict which propels its core. The grandmother of the Graham family dies, and her daughter and their family unwillingly inherit the dark aspects of her history. Hereditary is an allegory for the metaphorical demons and diseases that are passed down to us. The film is a masterclass thriller with plenty of disturbing visuals, narrative twists, and nuanced frights. And hats off to Toni Collette and her tour de force performance that was snubbed by the Academy. A pivotal moment comes about a third of the way through Hereditary. The son, Peter Graham, is rushing to get his sister Charlie home after she has an allergic reaction at a party they attended. She is sticking her head out of the window at one point, and in a split second, shocking moment, her head is severed by a pole. In a standard horror film, this character most likely would not have died, especially in a horrifically blunt manner. The brother shares an audience's shock as he is immediately traumatized and disassociates. Everything falls apart after that as everyone experiences some harrowing fallout from Charlie's shocking death. As the supernatural aspects ramp up toward the end, Peter wanders about the quiet house, and to audience's surprise, Annie is scurrying all along the wall and ceiling. Eventually, she is discovered hovering in the attic, briskly slicing through her own neck with a piano wire to the point of decapitation. All the shock and disorientation within Hereditary does serve a purpose. Everything intelligently comes together by the end. Make sure to check this out on Netflix, Fandango, Prime, Google Play, or Apple TV. Number 7, Attic Attack. 2007 Spanish found footage film Wreck is taut and creepy. The film follows a news reporter and her cameraman filming a breaking story revolving around a call at an apartment complex. The cool thing about this setup is it allows for a higher quality found footage, as a cameraman working as a professional, working with a professional camcorder. The apartment building is quarantined as there is some kind of virus infecting the tenants. The location and limited space are ripe with opportunities for jump scares. Wreck also utilizes its claustrophobic atmosphere as well. The film follows the beats of a zombie film, but there is a supernatural twist that you'll just have to watch for. The best jump scare arguably takes place when the cameraman is peeking into the attic to see if anything is there. Keep in mind, it's dark and the only light is from the camcorder, which has limited range. He slowly pans around the attic only to discover a ravenous boy looking right up on the camera. Anyone who's seen a horror movie knew this one was coming, but the slow scanning of the attic and anticipation really exacerbate this jump scare. You can stream this gem over on Tubi, Prime, Google Play, or Fandango. Number 8, Still Alive. Seven was David Fincher's first runaway hit as well as his first Best Picture nominee. And why wouldn't it be when it teamed up Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt for a dark twist on a buddy cop film? Edward Norton adds even more award-season gravitas to Seven as he plays the notorious Seven Deadly Sins killer. The film is a highbrow Saw-like film nearly a decade before Saw. Seven's murderer kills are inspired by the Seven Deadly Sins, so the film is deeply macabre with intelligent religious subtext. One particular shocking scene revolves around Detective William Somerset, played by Freeman, and homicide detective, played by Pitt, when they discover the body punished by sloth. The alleged corpse appears dehydrated, pale, leathery, and decaying. When one of the officers gets a close look, it coughs away. To the shock of everyone, including the audience, the victim is not dead. Everything about Seven is superbly crafted. To top it off, the whole resolution to the mystery crescendos to one of the most disturbing, iconic, and gut-wrenching climaxes for a thriller. Witness the 90s classic on Google Play, Fandango, or Prime. Number 9, Safe Under the Covers. Before J-horror took Western audiences by storm with 2002's American remake of Ringu, 2002's hit The Rings, there was the 2002 original Ju-on the Grudge, which also had a 2004 remake with Sarah Michelle Gellar simply titled The Grudge. One of the best and most iconic jump scares from that film was also used in the original. Ju-on the Grudge sees the Tokunaga family move into a house where a horrendous tragedy took place. A man murdered his wife, Kayako, in a jealous rage after discovering she bedded another man. In his rage, he also killed his son and their family cat. The idea behind Ju-on the Grudge is that an emotional death can leave an imprint, a curse, on the place it occurred. I've always found this concept fascinating. The unfortunate thing about the American The Grudge is they butcher the reasoning people who enter the house are dying, and it lacks the nuance of the original. Although the unnerving aesthetic, albeit more polished, remained. There are quite a few great jump scares in the original, but the one I'm going to discuss is perfect because of where it takes place. Kazumi is alone and frightened by a strange phone call, so she hides under her sheets. But when she heard a nerve-wracking cry, she discovers Kayako is under there with her. This scene is genius, that's not where we'd expect the ghost. It's also foreshadowing, as she was also trying to hide from her murderous husband as well as warn Kazumi. It will haunt you if you don't watch the original Japanese film on Tubi, Plex, Prime, Google Play, or Fandango. Number 10. Honey, I'm Home. Jurassic Park is a monumental achievement in cinema history. Between James Cameron's Terminator 2 and Jurassic Park, they ushered a new age of special effects in the 90s. And over 30 years later, the film still holds up even today. Audiences can thank the meticulous craft Spielberg took in storyboarding, development, and advancements in animatronics. Jurassic Park is based on Michael Crichton's 1990 New York Times best-selling novel, which was far more grisly and blunt in its themes on failures of capitalism. Steven Spielberg's adaptation is as much Crichton's as it is Spielberg. While Crichton wrote the first draft of the film, and eventually screenwriter David Kopp was hired to streamline it, Spielberg infused his own sense of wonder about dinosaurs, as well as fashioning Hitchcockian levels of suspense into the film. Jurassic Park is a high-concept film in which dinosaurs have been cloned back to life for a theme park, headed by lead engine bioengineer John Hammond. Because of a lethal incident with the crew of the park, investors needed experts to sign off on it in order for it to open. In comes paleontologist Alan Grant, played by Sam Neill, paleobotanist Ellie Sadler, played by Laura Dern, and chaostician Ian Malcolm, played by Jeff Goldblum. They arrive at the park full of living dinosaurs, and brilliantly orchestrated chaos ensues. Later on in the film, after the T-Rex has torn down his fence, and the velociraptors escape their cage, Ellie has restored the power, and she exclaims, "I think we're back in business." The camera tracks in on her, as a raptor's snout bursts through a thick bundle of wiring behind her. She turns around to have Mr. Arnold's arm placed on her shoulder, only to realize it's severed. Don't miss this adventure, 65 million years in the making, over on Starz, Google Play, Fandango, Philo, or Prime. Thanks for checking out the video. Did we leave any films off the list? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to tap that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter or X at Studios Fat, or chat with us on Discord, linked below. We're also now on Blue Sky. You can find us at studiosfat.bsky.social, which will also link below. If you're really enjoying our content and want to help support us, click that join button for exclusive content, rewards, and perks. Make sure to check out our very own merch store located at fatninja.shop. All proceeds go towards our next film project, so we'd greatly appreciate it. I've been your host, Jamie. Thanks again, and see you in the next one.